Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's session on Closing the Skills Gap, the impact of student talent on your business. We hope you've been enjoying the programming so far. So just some quick introductions to get us started. My name is Alyssa Curon, and I'm a business development and industry strategist here in our co-op department. And I'm also joined by my colleague, who I'll invite to say hello briefly.
Thanks, Alyssa. I'm Margaret Johnston, and I'm a business developer in cooperative education.
Thank you, Mark. We're also going to be joined a little later on by two Waterloo students who will speak to the impacts they made with employers during recent co-op experiences. So we'll hear a little bit later on from Gaurav Shah and Chris Oka. Please stay tuned for that. Bit of an overview. Today, we want to take you on a journey to discover the incredible value our co-op students can bring. We'll highlight the Waterloo advantage and why we are your first choice in student talent. Our student speakers will join us to give firsthand examples of the great skills they bring and what they can do to support your organization. We'll briefly cover how to hire and integrate Waterloo students into your company and leave you with some key takeaways and, of course, have time for Q&A. I will actually just note as well that there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So any questions, put them in throughout the presentation and we'll come back to that at the end. So anyway, just to take a quick step back, we're all navigating an evolving economic landscape, and we really want to recognize that it's not just about how industry needs are shifting, but rather the people who respond to those shifts are what is reshaping our world. And this includes you as the employer joining us today, us as the institution nurturing the emerging workforce through academics and work-integrated learning like co-op, and crucially, it's the students themselves. They are the next generation of workers and leaders. In the coming years, we're looking at a shortage of over 85 million skilled workers. That's 60% of our workforce will need to upskill or reskill, and 80 million jobs will be eliminated, but almost that many new jobs will yet emerge. These figures highlight the necessity of being both adaptable and proactive. So what our goal today is to highlight how Waterloo's co-op program equips students to become the change makers we need to meet these evolving demands with future-ready skills and support your organization's sustainable and resilient growth. Now, I won't read this whole quote from our current president, but I feel like it sets the tone as we think about how we adapt and evolve to meet changing industry needs. Work-integrated learning was at the very core of Waterloo's founding. It was a bold vision to combine academics with real-world experience and was different than any other institution at the time. Our co-op program has positioned Waterloo as a global leader, and that's why we consistently attract so many top students. This vision also helped Waterloo prepare our students over the decades to tackle global challenges with technical skills, creativity, and innovative thinking. So when we think about what is the Waterloo advantage and why are we your first choice in co-op talent, I want to echo something I heard in the opening remarks that you may have caught as well. That it comes down to our commitment to preparing our students to be future ready, to solve real problems, to learn while doing, and make meaningful impacts. I often hear our leaders here in our co-op department talk about how co-op and work-integrated learning in general is really a team sport. We heard this reference as well by our provost, Jim Rush, earlier in the opening remarks. It's about this ecosystem, a combination of the students, the employers, and us as the institution that really need to work in concert to prepare for the future of work. So the students need to be able to identify, articulate, apply, and transfer their skills. You as the employer need to recruit and retain candidates with the right skills that you need for your organization. And us as the institution need to think about how do we nurture these students, these future-ready grads, to develop skills for a changing world and really keep a mindset of being lifelong learners, because really this never ends. And I do love sharing what sets Waterloo apart, how we can really prove that there's an advantage to hiring from Waterloo. And I absolutely will not read all of these stats off because we will not want to be here all day, but just to speak to a few highlights. Over the past 65 plus years, we've developed a program that's embedded in the global community, and we work with over 8,000 employers around the world. We're home to Canada's largest student talent pool. We have more co-op students than the next two largest Canadian university co-op programs combined. Not only are we #1 in Canada for hands-on experiential learning and employer-student connections, but we also see consistently excellent rankings from employers about our students and have one of the best student employment rates. And not shown on this slide is we're also the #1 school in Canada for entrepreneurs. We've always been on the cutting edge. It's part of what makes our students ready to hit the ground running and tackle the come. So chances are, if you're joining us today, you have some idea of the value of co-op. But for those who may be new, and thank you also for joining us, co-op students can really bring value to your organization from day one. Of course, they can help lighten your workload. They bring an extra set of hands, But really critically, they often bring new skill sets and help close those gaps on your team when we're thinking about these future skills that we need. And it's critical to think as well about your longer term talent strategy. Right fit and a potential full-time hire upon graduation, all while the students are contributing to real projects in their work term. Co-op students can also be a great way to integrate bottom-up innovation into organizations. It's a proven business practice that companies like Google, 3M, Atlassian, and others are known for embracing, because it brings fresh perspectives to the organization, helping you stay competitive by driving innovation from the ground up. And looking at the big picture here, and if you already hire students, you will know this, but they can really leave a lasting legacy at your organization. Students could start a project, bring a new innovative approach to your team, absorb mentorship from those that they're working with and pass it along. And really critically, as I kind of alluded to before, those students inevitably become graduates and they may become long-term employees. So the best way we can showcase this to you is by providing real examples. And what better way than to bring in two students to discuss their real co-op experiences and the amazing impacts they've made. So I mentioned Gaurav and Chris early on. We're going to have each come on and introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll take down the slides for a bit and have a discussion, really. Then we'll come back to discuss a bit more of the nuts and bolts of hiring from us. So I'd first like to introduce Gaurav Shah to get us started.
Hey everyone, my name is Gaurav. I'm a third-year Global Business and Digital Arts student at the University of Waterloo. This past semester, I worked as a product manager at the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board's Innovation Lab. That was a team of 20 co-op students, all working to solve business problems together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing more from you in a little bit, and I will now invite Chris to come on and say hello next.
Hey everyone, my name's Chris. I just graduated from Systems Design Engineering after completing 6 co-ops. And as you can see here, most of my co-ops were in software with some experience in accessibility and user experience research as well. My most recent co-op was at Deep Breathe, an awesome company specializing in medical AI for lung ultrasound. And I was working as a software developer in this position.
Thank you so much. And I believe, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. I believe the link there to that story for your experience at Deep Breathe, which is a wonderful employer success story, will be put into the chat for anyone who may want to read that as well. So I'm actually going to pass things over to Mark now to kick things off for our discussion.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alyssa. And thanks so much for the introductions, Gaurav and Chris. And Gaurav, I'm going to get started with a question to you. Your program, the Global Business and Digital Arts program, is very unique and intentionally combines both technical skills and soft skills or transferable human skills. Can you tell us more about what you've learned in your program helped you to be impactful on your work term?
I think that's a great question. And there's 3 points that I want to cover there. The first is the technical skills that I learned. The program Global Business and Digital Arts is focused around the 3 pillars of business, creativity, and technology. So coming into industry, I knew that's the skills that made product development possible. On the soft skills side, GBDA, the program, does a really good job at teaching you to learn things quickly. You learn by doing. So for example, a specific concept that we learned was how to conduct user research. And to do that, our professors asked us to go conduct user research on a specific topic and actually conduct an analysis on it. So learning quickly is something that we've done through the program. And the last thing that I want to mention there is collaboration. The program actually, almost every course in the program has at least one collaboration component within it. So you're doing a group project, you're doing a team assignment, something like that. And you learn to work with so many different types of people and in different types of environments. So it really makes you well suited for the workplace.
Yeah, that's great, Gaurav. Thank you so much. And Chris, can you share how the skills and knowledge you gained both from your engineering program and previous work terms empowered you to take on more responsibility and autonomy in your role at Deep Breathe? And how did this contribute to innovative work?
Yeah, for sure. So in my first few work terms, I was in positions that allowed me to find extra work if I finished my assigned tasks early. I feel like this really taught me the value of asking good questions and taking on more responsibility than I was initially given. By the time I got to Deep Breathe in my last co-op, I felt confident enough to take on entire projects. And luckily, my manager, shout out to Ben Wu, let me do exactly that. He was, you know, a great manager that was not super hands-on. He let me do my thing. He let me take full ownership over my project, and still had that support and check-ins if I needed them. And I feel like when I have that ownership over the project, and I feel like I take full responsibility over it, it makes me want to put in more work. It makes me want to do a better job. And yeah, I think that was like super key and has taught me a ton, especially going into my future career. It's just that ownership is important, and making people feel like they're truly making an impact helps people work harder, and definitely works for me as well.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's always great to hear when our students are really integrated as part of a team at an organization, because the vast majority of cases, our students are just as excellent as any regular full-time employee. So it's wonderful to hear that you had all those great experiences there. So I'm going to transition back to Gaurav now. So you're earlier in your co-op career and have a few terms left to go. Could you tell us how your experiences in your first work term may have changed or reinforced what you thought about co-op, and how it may affect the way you look for future co-op jobs or even accept your future jobs?
Absolutely. I think I want to echo what Chris said actually about impact, right? In my first co-op term, I was hired as a UX designer, but as we were going through the semester, we kind of realized the team lacked a product manager and lacked sort of the skill set that came with it. And so because I'd done some studying beforehand and I really wanted to be a product manager, I decided to step up, take initiative, and take on the role. By the end of the semester, I was officially the product manager for the team, and the product was a great success. But all that the entire story made me realize I want to have an impact at the workplace. I want to be able to do things and take initiative. And so that's the first big thing that I look for. The second is collaboration. I mean, my program has prepared me with so much collaboration experience. It would be a shame to let that go to waste. So I love to collaborate with people, talk to people, and work with them. And that's something that I'm really looking for. And the last is culture and learning. I want to make sure that there's a culture of growth in the company, that as a co-op student, I can feel like I'm learning and growing actively. But yeah, those are the main things that I'm now looking for in a co-op after my first one.
That's so great to hear. And it's important to remember that it's not just about the technical skills that an employer may want to think about when they're recruiting, but how do they attract the top talent that cares about collaboration and making an impact and all of that, that great stuff that you just shared. And how do they communicate that when they're posting jobs and conducting interviews and thinking about how employers share all that information. I think it's really important. We do have another session that we'll reference a little later on that's diving a little bit deeper into that, but really wonderful responses. Thank you both so much. Chris, we'll go back to you. So you've just finished your last term. I think you're breathing easier after those final exams, and you'll be moving on to what's next after your graduation. Could you tell us how your co-op experiences all throughout your degree have shaped your career trajectory?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I think the biggest thing co-op has done for me is it's given me the opportunity to explore multiple domains with minimal risk. I started off my degree wanting to do more like mechanical design. Then I got a co-op in software, enjoyed that, and then decided to take a risk and do user experience research. Even though like user experience research wasn't quite where I wanted to be, it let me take that choice, or maybe let me make that choice and see what I like and dislike before having to commit to a year-long contract or something with a full-time job. So I think that's a great aspect, and it's really helped me in my career kind of nail down what I want to do. And on top of that, out of or all my co-ops, especially my experience at Deep Breathe, it gave me the technical abilities and also the confidence to start my own company, which is something I never would have thought I would have ever be doing if you asked first year me. But yeah, I owe a lot to the co-op program for giving me those abilities that I wouldn't have gotten just from school.
Wow, Chris, thank you so much. You know what? You have embodied right there what I say to employers all the time, that one of the most important things about the co-op experiences that our student has is it helps them connect to what direction they really want to take their learnings into. So you've gone from kind of a very technical piece to looking into the user experience. Your experience at Deep Breathe was pretty amazing. I did read that that article as well. And then moving on to starting your own company. I mean, that's really, really cool. So thanks for that. I'm going to ask another question, and I'm going to start with Gaurav. So to finish up, we'd like to ask each of you, what would be one thing that you would like to share with companies who may be watching today and are considering hiring our students?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot to say, but the main thing is don't underestimate UW students. I think apart from just the work that we do in the classroom, UW students are so involved on campus with on-campus clubs, extracurriculars, and our students are up to so many cool things. So definitely consider the work that your co-op student is doing inside the classroom, but think about what they could do outside the classroom as well, and what they've been learning there.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it is really important to talk about all the kind of pieces that make a well-rounded student, which is also being part of those clubs and that as well. So thanks for that, Gaurav. And Chris, same question.
Yeah, I think one of the best reasons to hire a co-op is because of the different insights new members of your team and especially young people have to offer. So like since AI is changing the world very quickly, it's hard to stay on top of like all the new technologies and such. And I feel like students and young people are like really tapped into what's up and coming, like the new technologies, and they also have experience at multiple companies, usually with previous co-op experiences, kind of seeing what their processes are, and they're able to work out for themselves what works best and what doesn't work for them, and bring those fresh perspectives to the companies that they're working at. And I've definitely asked like questions before to full-timers, asking like, why do we do it this way? And the answer is like, actually, we're not quite sure. Like it's been this way for a while. So like co-ops can unlock these new questions that full-timers might not see because they've been staring at the product for so long. And it just shows there's more room for optimization, improvement of processes, and just using new technologies effectively. So yeah, overall, I think it's young people bring fresh insights, and that often leads to positive change.
Wow. Chris and Gaurav, thank you very much. And Chris, you've really touched on things again that we talk about is the perspective that students do have that perspective. They bring new ideas in. They look at problems and can quickly look at through fresh eyes a different approach. So that's really wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to the last part of our presentation. We want to go over how you can access our amazing students like Chris and Gaurav. And whether you're brand new to recruiting from us or one of our longtime employers, we are thankful for all of you. So we just heard about the Waterloo Advantage from Alyssa, and we could spend a whole presentation just discussing this slide. But in many ways, you've already witnessed the Waterloo Advantage after hearing from Gaurav and Chris today. We are not only the largest co-op program in Canada, but the largest of its kind in the world, and over 8,000 employers hire from us. We're constantly evolving our co-op program to make it better for both our students and employers. For example, we have the only research center of its kind in the world with our WorkLearn Institute, which is dedicated to the development of talent through quality work integrated learning opportunities. What we learn here, we share with our employers to continually evolve and better our program. We offer flexibility to our employers. Beyond the typical 4-month work-study rotation, we can support what works for you when you need it. When you hire from us, you get a dedicated support team to help you with every step of the way. Waterloo students can hit the ground running, as we've heard today. Our students can support you in unique ways, no matter the role you're looking to fill or the skills you need. Your dedicated team can also help you access funding supports. The real Waterloo advantage is that we truly are your all-in-one solution, no matter what co-op talent you need. So you may or may not know that we have over 122 co-op programs that can be accessed through one central recruiting system, allowing you to hire from all of our 6 faculties for any role you require. A business developer such as myself will meet with you to learn about your recruitment needs, suggest the best ways to recruit for the roles you're looking to fill, including suggesting programs that might be a great fit. With the depth and breadth of talent we bring, Waterloo is best positioned to help you fill your roles. One thing I often suggest to employers is that when you view your application packages, don't get hung up on the program that a student is in. Students will tell you why they applied to your posting, and they are terrific about explaining their previous work history and the transferable skills they have and how those relate to your recruitment needs. When you post with us, think about the skills that you're looking for and what type of work you need the students to do. What you see on this slide is what we often hear from employers in terms of in-demand skills, both technical and those transferable or human skills. Both Gaurav and Chris highlighted their transferable skills that help set them up for success on their work terms. We know that Waterloo students excel in critical reasoning skills that are developed through their academic and work term experience, as well as the intentional pedagogy that is part of the Waterloo Co-op program. Many of the job postings we see want experience in emerging technical skills, but also want students who are great communicators and critical thinkers. Communicating your needs clearly in a great job description will help you attract the widest applicant pool with the relevant skills from any number of our programs. So let's get you started hiring Waterloo. Every employer is assigned a service team to set you and your students up for success. You'll begin working with a business developer who meets with you to learn about your business and recruitment needs, discuss available funding, and touch on working with Waterloo. Once you post a job, you will meet your account coordinator, who are excellent resources for all things Waterloo Works and will help you through the actual hiring process. Once you have hired, you will be introduced to your account manager, your ongoing Waterloo connection. And once the term begins, your co-op employment advisor will reach out to assist both you and your student throughout the work term. You are supported every step of the way. I also wanted to take a minute to reference for our attendees that happening at the same time as our session today is Insider Hacks to help you recruit the talent you want, where our colleagues, Emily and Melissa, will walk you through all the detailed steps for hiring in our Waterloo Works system and writing great job descriptions. So if you are new to hiring with us, we encourage you to watch the recording that will be available soon, but please don't leave now. At 2:45 this afternoon, we will also have 2 other great sessions you can choose from if you're looking to leverage employer branding on campus to drive student engagement. We encourage you to check out that session with our colleagues, Jeff and Kate. Or at the same time, you may be interested to hear about the secret sauce for a productive work term with our colleague, Julie, who will be joined by industry speakers to chat about onboarding, offboarding, mentorship, and fulfilling work terms. All the recordings will be available soon to catch up on anything you weren't able to attend live. And we'll give you details at the end for how to get in touch with us. And of course, we'll follow up via email. We know that funding opportunities are particularly important to employers, especially now. There are many funding opportunities available to help you hire co-op talent, and your service team can help you discover which options you may be able to leverage to support your hire. The most popular funding program for Canadian employers is the Student Work Placement Program, or SWIP. It is federal funding that can provide 50 to 70% wage subsidies to hire a student. This funding is designed to create opportunities for students that are Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or under the Refugee Protection Act. It is also paid as a lump sum at the end of the term, so you must be able to pay the student while they are working for you. The MyTax Business Strategy Internship is designed to fund innovation-related projects, such as process or project-related innovations that can provide up to 50% of a student's salary. We've worked with MyTax to co-develop a process to streamline the applications. If you are located in Ontario, you can also take advantage of the Ontario Cooperative Education Tax Credit that provides a 25 to 30% rebate of the student's salary. This can be accessed in addition to the SWIP funding. So if you receive 50% in SWIP funding, you can receive an additional 25 to 30% rebate on the remaining 50% of the student's salary. We're just about to end, but we wanted to provide you with a flavor of what employers like you say about hiring Waterloo students. There are so many great stories available online and too many quotes to choose from. You've heard firsthand from our students how great it is to apply classroom skills on the job, which we see echoed in comments from Pratt & Whitney and Micro Harvest. Companies like RDH Building Science can't imagine not having our students work with them. Our students are invaluable to employers. They ask the right questions and bring fresh ideas and energy, said companies like Deloitte, Wealthsimple, and LiftWorks. At Arctic Wolf, they felt that you can't tell our students aren't full-time employees. Infinite Nanotech found a lot of value in how our students think outside the box. And an employer from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada said Waterloo students are the most well-rounded out there. So let's take a look now at upcoming recruitment dates. With 3 work terms available every year, you can access a constant stream of new talent. If you are looking to hire for the spring, you still have lots of time, though we do encourage you to reach out as soon as possible. Spring recruiting will continue into May. You can also begin recruiting for the fall term now. Cycle 1 postings are due in early May. And it's important to know it's never too late to begin recruiting with Waterloo. There's always another work term right around the corner. We'll now move on to our next steps. So next steps are simple. Connect with our team. Attend or listen to the recordings of our other sessions. Start or continue hiring Waterloo. Our contact information will be on the next slide, and we will follow up by email. And we'll now move on to questions with Alyssa. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mari. It was wonderful. And thank you everyone again for joining us today, and to our students for all the wonderful information they provided. So I'm just pulling up the Q&A here, and I do see we have a couple, so apologies, I'm just kind of moving some things around. So the first one, will all sessions be shared afterwards as recordings? Yeah, we understand that with the overlap, it's sometimes hard to choose which one. So we very much appreciate your interest in multiple sessions. And yes, we are recording them all. They will be shared. I'm not sure of how much time for post-processing, to get them all up, but I believe an email will go out, if I'm not mistaken, and then you'll be notified when the recordings are available. So thank you for your interest in checking the rest out. Okay. The next question, actually, oh, wonderful. We have a question to share with our students. So I'm going to read this out loud, and then maybe invite, if Chris or Gaurav want to nominate, just feel free to speak out and answer. So what is the best thing an employer can do to set you up for success? What a great question. One of you want to take a stab at answering?
Sure, I can go for it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think this like ties into my previous answer. I think one of the best things an employer can do to set you up for success is to trust you, like to give you responsibility, not handhold you too much. Just understand that even if you're in your first co-op, like you're there to learn, to work hard. And I think like Waterloo students, especially, like they're there to work really hard, especially since they're early in their career. So when you give them that responsibility and trust to go ahead and work hard, they'll take it, and they'll do good things.
That's wonderful. Gaurav, I want to give you, if you want to, no pressure, of course. Is there anything you'd like to share and the best thing an employer can do to set you up for success?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is allowing people to ask questions, right? Coming into a new team, your co-op student is going to have a lot of questions, and if they can get those answered early on in the semester, then that sets them up for success for the rest of it. And so encouraging your co-op student to ask questions, repeating to them that there's no dumb questions, making sure that they, feel safe and comfortable to ask them and are getting the answers that they need.
What a wonderful answer. And I think just the idea of setting up the kind of culture of safety and openness is important in any new job, even if you're not a co-op student. I know I appreciate that if I'm new to a role, and I often ask a lot of questions. So really appreciate that perspective. There's a couple of other questions here, Marg. I think I'm going to flip this one to you, since you work so closely with so many employers and often new employers who are just starting out with hiring from us. So the question is, what are your tips for integrating co-op students into teams effectively?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Alyssa. So I'd say that a lot of the things that Chris and Gaurav have brought up are really important. First of all, make your student feel comfortable. Introduce them to the team. Include them in whatever social events and that you're having. Include them in meetings. Provide them with information. Make sure you're doing regular check-ins with your students to ask how things are going, and just be aware that sometimes new people coming into your organization, regardless of whether or not they're students, we don't know what we don't know whenever we first start somewhere. So making sure that they're included and that they have lots of information, and those regular check-ins will really help set them up for success.
It's a really great answer. We hire between 2 and 4 co-op students every term on our team here in our department, and we find usually weekly or bi-weekly one-on-ones is a really important thing, and perhaps much more frequent in those first couple of weeks to really set them up for success. Sorry.
Absolutely.
So we have a couple more questions. The next one actually is for our students again. So we have a question asking you, what was a unique thing that an employer did and that you may like other employers to do? So that's a really interesting question. If either of you maybe has something that comes to mind about a unique thing that an employer did or you would like from other employers, feel free to jump in.
Absolutely. I think one thing that my previous employer, the Workplace Safety Insurance Board, did that was super unique was they had an innovation lab, which was full of co-op students. So it was a team of 20 co-op students, all bringing together unique perspectives in design, development, and communications. And because the team was fully co-op students, every 4 semesters, you'd have new knowledge coming into the organization with new practices, the newest technology. And that's how they kept up to date with new technology. We would bring in new solutions. And so for example, part of my work was developing an AI tool to help internal staff. And that's something that you get when you hire so many co-op students. We can actually think through those ideas and develop them. And it was really cool to see the impact that we had every semester. Because 4 months is such a short amount of time, and all of you are co-op students, you know that you're working on the project together. You have a very set timeline. And so you get through a lot of stuff very quickly. And you can make a real impact on the organization. Anyways, that's one thing that I loved.
That's great. Chris, totally optional. There's actually another question that came in that I'd love to throw your way, but if you did have something unique that an employer did that you wanted to share, feel free to jump in, or I can also go for the next question.
Yeah, let's give a quick answer here. Doing one-on-ones with your co-ops, like check-ins, I think is great. Some employers did it, some employers didn't. And I think having that ability to take like 30 minutes out of your day and just like talk about all the problems you're facing, all the successes in the past week, and then discuss like your goals for the term and how they're going, I think is super helpful for our co-ops development. And it also helps like figure out whether they're hitting roadblocks and to expedite their project.
For sure. Thank you for that. I'm going to throw the next question right to Chris, because as we saw on an earlier slide, you've had 6 co-op work terms under your belt. So I have a feeling you might have an answer to this one. From a recruiting standpoint, what made you feel prepared for interviews and what made you more nervous?
Yeah, that's a good question.
No pressure.
Yeah, what made me feel prepared? I feel like doing like research into the company. I think like one thing that employers could do that helps me feel less nervous is having like really detailed job descriptions. I've walked into some interviews where the job description is like, you need to know this programming language, and like that's basically it. Or they give a like kind of fluffy explanation of the job and you're not actually sure what the real responsibilities are. So I think being like as specific as possible. So when you step into that interview, you know what you're getting yourself into, basically, right? It's like equally as for you as it is for the employer to know like what they're getting themselves into. So that helps you do more research, look into technologies if you need to, and just kind of know what you're signing up for.
That's really, really great response. We, of course, have another session now that the recording will be available later that dives much deeper into writing great job descriptions, and you've touched on important parts. And I'd also just like to briefly add, not just what the job description is itself, but having the employer highlight kind of the company culture, what it's like, really having the students see themselves in the job. I think kind of calls back to some of what we heard earlier, as well as what Gaurav mentioned a little while ago about feeling like you're going to make an impact. I think just job descriptions in general are so important and help you with the interview and know kind of right away if it's going to be a good fit that's worth pursuing. So before I jump to the next question, Gaurav, I just wanted to give you the chance if you wanted to touch at all on what might make you feel prepared for interviews or more nervous. And again, no pressure, but if you had any thoughts, you're welcome to share.
Absolutely. Yeah, just wanted to echo Chris's point. Be as specific as possible. I think knowing exactly what your company is looking for is really helpful, because then I can determine as well whether I'm a good fit or not. And going into an interview, I know what specific experiences to highlight, so that I can tell you why I'm a good fit or why I'm not possibly a good fit. Let students make that decision as well. And so, yeah, be detailed.
That's great. Before I read the next question, something just came to mind. I've interviewed many co-op students and other staff myself, and certainly participated in my fair share. And something I'd like employers to keep in mind when they're planning to interview students is think of how you phrase your interview questions. We often ask those behavioral, tell me about a time you, and by phrasing those in a way like that maybe it's not just about work experience, but knowing it may come from other school experience, like what was mentioned earlier about being part of clubs, things like that. Just thinking of setting your interview up for success right from the start as the employer, knowing you're interviewing someone who may have more limited formal employment experience. It could be a good thing to think of to set kind of that tone of more of a relaxing environment and preparing for that interview. Sorry. Okay, so another question that I'm going to send to Marg. This is something that I'm sure you hear a lot about with employers. So the question, I'll read it out and then I may just add on a note. 4 months seems like a short time. How can we as employers prep a student to make sure they complete their project or make an impact in those 4 months? And I think it's a fantastic question. And I know we often hear about concerns about, just when we get the student signed onboarded, then the 4 months goes by so quickly. And I know you have this conversation all the time. So I'd love to hear your response there.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. I do have this conversation all the time. So it is a really good question. So yeah, one of the things that I mentioned to brand new employers is with your very first student, have them keep a running log of what they do every day, whether that's a shared document on a shared system or something, and also that you are planning regular catch-up and check-in meetings with your students so that you do know where they are and that you're knowing where they're progressing to, and that you've got a plan in place for them will really help you meet those expectations by the end of the work term as well. So again, a lot of it comes down to having a good communication model set up. I know employers who have used the information that co-op students have put into this document about their business to onboard other new employees as well. But really, this is going to be an onboarding document that this student will prepare for the next student. You typically know who your next student is before your first student leaves. So the documentation is really important. The other thing that's really important too is to have some overlap between those two students. Typically, students are done exams a little bit before the next work term starts. Have them come in and spend a few days with your current student. You spend time with that student as well. Make sure too that you're doing an offboarding meeting with your student before they leave so that you are caught up. And as always, have that communication with your student. And that's the way to, again, not just have had this work term set up for success, sets future work terms up for success as well.
That is wonderful. Thank you. And I do see we've just hit the 1:45 mark. So I'm going to very, very quickly before I move to the last. Okay, I see a couple more questions have come in. Unfortunately, I think we may not be able to get to those last couple just based on time. I see questions about concern about change and questions about remote work. Those are conversations we would absolutely love to have after the fact, and we hope that you would be open to connecting with us. It's just in the interest of time and knowing there's other questions. Unfortunately, we didn't quite have time to get to them all, but I just will call attention quickly to our final slide. So on the left, you can scan our QR code to subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find us through social media, email, or our website listed on the right. So please do stay connected. You'll hear about those recordings. Reach out anytime, and we look forward to helping you connect with our top talent. I would like to thank our students once again so much for joining us and sharing your experiences. And thank you to all who joined us today. We hope you can enjoy the other sessions either this afternoon or catch the recordings. And we look forward to being in touch. So thank you all.